When we were watching this on Sunday, Melissa was like, I've never seen you this happy before. I was quoting everything.
Not even when Luna was born.
I was like, I love this movie.
Hi, I'm Al. Welcome to CiNEMACHiNE. This week we're going to be reviewing Forrest Gump, the movie you guys chose. But before all that, I want to bring in Ryan. How you doing this week?
Doing great.
And Brandon.
Good evening.
You are the winner this week,
Ladies
Brandon.
and gentlemen.
Brandon is finally the winner, everybody.
Yeah.
Is this really your first one?
Apparently.
How's it feel, man?
Oh, wow.
How's it feel?
Is it good?
Feels
Does it
good.
feel good?
It's a good one for me to win on. It's one of my favorite movies. So,
Okay.
What do I say?
We'll find out. So,
Ooh.
teaser. Before we get started, we want to make sure everybody knows how to get in touch with us, how to vote for the movies that we put up this week for voting. So, Ryan, will you please instruct the people at home?
Yep. If you are watching on YouTube, you can hit us up in the comments. Throw your comments in the comments. And when we list our movies later for vote, you can vote there as well. And if you're on Instagram, you can hit us up at CiNEMACHiNE and we get some pretty funny conversations going there. So we'll see you on Insta.
Yeah, I've seen the comments about me that y'all think are funny. And
Yeah, you're not on there, so we can talk about you all we want.
yeah, I saw the old man emojis and stuff. Looking at you, Rusty.
The mustache isn't helping out.
Well, there's a story behind all this.
My dad has a mustache.
Well, I'll explain.
So I got one.
Love
Right.
me.
Brandon, did you shave your mustache off and give it to Al?
Yeah.
So, like we said, this week, Brandon is the winner, finally.
Feels good.
He's like, say it again. Say it again.
How many attempts?
On what,
Let's
16
see.
episodes?
15
Ish?
attempts. I guess 14. No, 13. I don't know. The first two we weren't voting. So maybe 13.
1 out of 14, 15 ain't bad.
Good on you. Good on you, Brandon. Brandon has more to be thankful for this Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your votes.
And
Every one
let's
of them.
remind everybody we are in 90s, throwdown, throwback, hymn hall.
Ding dong.
Shamalama ding dong.
See? I don't even have to say it anymore. You guys say it. So it's fantastic. It's already in your heads. So my plan is working. Yes, we are in there. We have one more week left, which we'll nominate those movies later. But last week, Ryan, what'd you nominate?
Last week, what did I nominate? Fight Club.
It meant so much to him. Yeah. I nominated Braveheart. And so Forrest Gump beat out both of those movies. So there we go, Internet. So tonight, Forrest Gump.
Hey, I agree with you guys, so I'm saying thank you. Thank you for your participation.
It's the only week Brandon will say the votes went correctly. He hasn't said it once yet, but he'll say it this week.
Hey, I was excited about I've been excited about most of the reviews, even the ones you won.
Brandon, you've been a good
Even
sport
Green Room.
despite your poor performance.
Brandon plays well with others. So Forrest Gump released
Brandon's like, wish my dad would have told me that.
July 6th, 1994. Directed by Robert Zemeckis. Had a budget of $55 million. Had a box office of $678,226,805 worldwide.
How many cents?
Huh?
How many cents?
Yeah, that's what I was
37. So the story goes, slow-witted Forrest Gump has... I don't think you can say that anymore, can you? Forrest Gump has never thought of himself as disadvantaged, and thanks to his supportive mother, he leads anything but a restricted life. Whether dominating on the gridiron as a college football star, Roll Tide, fighting in Vietnam, or captaining a shrimp boat, Forrest inspires people with his childlike optimism. But one person Forrest cares about most, may be the most difficult to save. His childhood love, the sweet but troubled Jenny. So Tom Hanks, of course, plays Forrest Gump. Michael Connor Humphreys as young Forrest. Robin Wright, she was just Robin Wright. She wasn't Robin Wright Penn at the time, right?
I believe so.
Jenny, and then her younger self, Hannah R. Hall. Gary Sinise as Lieutenant Dan. Kelty Williamson as Benjamin Buford Bubba Blue. Bubba. Sally Fields.
Blue.
Sally Fields is Mrs. Gump. And in his first movie ever, Haley Joel Osment as Forrest Gump Jr.
Killing it.
So, folks, let's talk about first impressions then and now, since this is a throwback movie. Brandon, you're the winner, so we're going to go with you first. What was when did you first, roughly when did you first see this? Was it at home or in the theater?
Yeah, it was at home. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it. I imagine I saw this like shortly after it came out on home video. It was a big deal. I mean, as you would expect, this movie's a pretty southern movie. Like this movie and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou are just went like wildfire in this area. Like people just watched them over and over. And Sling Blade. So those three movies, people just watched on repeat around here. But anyway, let's see. I was maybe 10 or 11. I was probably 10 when I saw this. I'll go ahead and say this. Most of this movie was lost on me as far as its significance, all the historical references and that kind of thing.
When you were a kid or now?
And yeah. When I was a kid.
Brandon's not very smart.
I'm not a smart man.
You did say
but
Sling
I do
Blade
know
was
what
number
love
one.
is. But no, I mean, even despite me not understanding this and all the sexual stuff getting lost on me when I was a kid, like there's so much there that just went right over my head. I adored this movie growing up. Like I watched it, quoted it all the time, quoted things I didn't even know what they meant. I think I ruined your roommate's bathrobe. I said that a lot. And
your parents are just like, oh, ain't he cute?
So I grew up watching this movie. So over the years, things started, oh, that's what that was. But anyway, yeah. So I love this movie. I loved it from the day I watched it. I love the story. I love the characters, the score, the soundtrack. Most of these songs, because I heard them basically most of them for the first time in this movie, I always associate them with Forrest Gump. It's got a great soundtrack. I remember it being like a 2 or 3
It was
disc.
2-disc.
Yeah, 2-disc soundtrack. I like the interweaving historical element to it, how Forrest is just kind of like, happens to be connected to all these like crazy events in history. It's not a movie to be taken in a literal sense in terms of that kind of thing, but I just think it's just like a cool little like, kind of story beat that they kind of carry throughout that, as far as this like, kind of just casual guy that just gets swept up in all these different things, and you just kind of go on that journey with him. And I know that it's very different from what I take from the book. I know you're probably going to talk about the book later. I don't know if you've read the book.
I've heard Brandon talk this fast before. He's really excited. Like he is like.
You know how excited you were when you were talking about Green Room, when you were talking about Green Room, or They Live. Well, Melissa, when we were watching this on Sunday, Melissa was like, "I've never seen you this happy before." I was quoting everything.
Not even when Luna was born.
I was like, "I love this movie." Anyway, yeah.
Were you like Kevin during Upgrade?
Yeah. Yeah. Rules. This movie rules.
Which we'll talk about that at a later date.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll say more later. But yeah, I love this movie.
That's awesome. Ryan, when did you watch this movie for the first time fully?
I watched this movie for the first time fully about 2 days ago. I
Why
so
do you hate
growing
America?
Growing up, I had a neighbor who like loved this movie.
You live next to Brandon?
I
The
would
Duncan
never survive
kid's
out in
outside
Boston.
again.
Yeah, he used to just come over and watch it through the window. We'd make sure he stayed outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I had a neighbor who like loved this movie and had it on all the time.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, I never like sat down and watched the whole thing, but I would like come in and like see parts of it here and there. And I guess so. Everything I remembered in this movie was like the first half.
So you were really surprised. Like, oh, Jenny.
Yes. And it was really the second half that did it for me with this movie that I thought was pretty awesome. So I don't know, just kind of one of those weird things. I've never watched this movie all the way through until this week. So look what our podcast has done.
It's broadened your horizons.
Okay.
So let me ask you this: what was the reasoning? Because the neighbor that you grew up next to, did they quote it too
Hated it.
much? Like, I'm just saying, did they quote it too much? Was it just
was
felt
he a
like it was in your-
douchebag?
Yeah. Did he go see The Matrix? So no, but I'm just saying, like,
Jab, jab.
did he quote it too much? I'm jabbing myself because everybody said that. So but did he quote it too much, or was it just like,
No.
I hear enough Forrest Gump, I just don't want to watch it, or what was, or just didn't have time
No,
for
it was just one of those things. Like I didn't like hate it or anything when
Right.
I would come over and see pieces of it, but I would always kind of like jump in the middle, and it's not something that I like knew really what was going on. So I don't know. It's just one of those freak things where I'd never seen Forrest Gump until a few days ago.
So then you have new eyes on this. What is it, like 2.5? Like, seriously, like it's a
pretty
long
long,
time.
yeah.
It was released in what, 94?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, you've had some time to digest
Mhm.
this. So did you feel like you had watched a really bad trailer that told the whole story, or were you surprised by some stuff?
No, I mean I knew that
This is one of those movies
I knew
everybody quotes. Is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I mean I knew just, it's so prevalent in pop culture. Like I knew the concept of the movie.
Right.
So I guess I wasn't necessarily surprised by anything other than like at the end when like I didn't know that they actually
Spoilers!
ended up getting married. Yeah. Spoilers. They ended up getting married and he had a kid. I didn't know any of that, so that was cool, but like I knew the general concept, but I definitely enjoyed it.
What was the kid's name that lived next door to you?
Tyler.
Tyler, if you're watching, leave your comments in the comments. So,
Yeah.
let's get after it. Let's figure it out. Okay, so
Let's figure it out.
so are you I mean, so you have positive things to say, or are you mixed
Yeah.
feelings, or what?
No,
Okay.
it was good.
All right. All right. So I saw this movie in the theater with my dad and a friend of mine. At the time, my dad had a restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama, which is not that far from Battery, Alabama, which is where Greenbow, Alabama is kind of based on. Big shrimping districts, things of that nature.
Greenbow's fictional, right?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Winston Groom used to come out to my dad's restaurant and sit on the patio and write. He didn't write Forrest Gump there, but he would write other stuff and whatnot. But we got, autographed copies of Forrest Gump and things of that. I didn't know any. I was too young to really care, to be honest with you. Then we went and watched the movie, and the reason my dad has a mustache, so I wore this tonight because I think it's hilarious. I saw my dad boo-hoo during this movie while at the movie theater. So, Dad, shout out. I saw you as a real human being, not a superhero anymore after that. So it was pretty hilarious. He was like trying to hide it. Like, no, boy. Hey, boy.
what is this salty discharge?
Hey, boy, no, I ain't crying. You'll get off of me. So, anyway, I thought it was hilarious. And my friend and I were just laughing so hard that, I mean, yeah, we had fun at the movie watching Forrest Gump, and we were doing the impression and everything. But we were doing more of an impression of my dad crying afterwards and just jabbing him. So then, of course, this movie came out on video. I think everybody in the United States owned it on video.
Except for Ryan.
Watched it. Yeah, except for Ryan. Ryan was over at Tyler's house. Can we watch it? my parents only let me have the land before time. So yeah,
we my head.
This movie was deep, man. Watched it, quite a bit, and I have to say that this movie is good. It's a well-made movie. I'm a Zemeckis fan, Tom Hanks fan, but Tom Hanks before this, I think I've said this on the podcast before. I like quirky Tom Hanks from like the 80s and such, and that's what sticks out to me more than this. So I like this movie just fine, but I don't think I ever need to see it again because I've seen it so many times, and I think it's just in the kind of like the zeitgeist so much that you kind of just breathe this movie. This movie's there, so it's not as bad. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah,
nothing like that. I'm just saying it's
there. You can watch it. Whatever.
Most people that haven't even seen this movie, still know how to quote this movie very well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this movie's just one of those things that's just in our history and our
lexicon.
vernacular and our lexicon. So
I agree.
So anyway, so let's get into the cast here. Now, I know that everybody knows there's a bunch of casting rumors who might have been Forrest Gump, and I'm just going to name a couple of those. Can you imagine this movie with Chevy Chase as Forrest Gump?
I can imagine Chevy Chase does a lot of things.
Can you imagine, Brandon?
It's hard to.
Bill Murray as Forrest Gump.
I read that as well.
That one's easier than Chevy Chase.
In '94, Bill Murray. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, his career was kind of on rocky ground at that point. And John Travolta.
I can't see that one.
No, he cannot act.
Poppycock. We get that.
So
was that Fred Durst movie that he did? He tried to do his own Forrest Gump last year.
God.
Yeah.
The Fan or whatever it was called.
Yeah, The Fan. Yeah, something like that. Oh, boy.
We need to hate watch that
movie.
That's what we got to do that.
Gotta hate
like
watch
the
it.
Fanatic or something?
Fanatic. Yeah.
That might be it.
That was it.
We just.
I know all of Fred Durst movies.
I think The Fan was a Wesley Snipes, Robert De Niro movie, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
All right. So, do you know that other people were sought after to be Bubba? And I'm going to name off a couple of those folks. All right.
Yep.
One of these four that I'm going to name actually auditioned, and we'll talk about that one last. The first one is David Alan Grier from Living Color.
I know a few of these.
Ice Cube. He would have been the angriest best friend ever. Like, what you mean I'm on a boat? And then we got Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
That would have been a little too comical, I think.
It works in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, exactly. Dave Chappelle said that he later regretted not doing Forrest Gump, which, after you see the numbers, I'm sure you are regretting it. So, but then the one that did actually auditioned for the movie was Tupac Shakur. So I just can't imagine. I mean, he was good in Poetic Justice and a couple other movies. He wasn't in Menace. He was in a couple movies. But anyway, he was actually a fairly good actor. But I just can't imagine him. I think he would have been too gruff for this movie. Any thoughts on all of those casting choices for both Forrest and Bubba?
I mean,
or do you think it was perfect?
I could see David Allen Greer maybe.
I don't.
I mean, it just depends. I mean, it's hard. It's always hard to like. I mean, I don't know how they would if I'm thinking like them portraying Bubba the way he was portrayed in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to see them doing that same take.
Yeah.
Maybe David Allen Greer there for some reason. I can see him. The other, Chappelle, not really, but
yeah, I don't really have as much. I can't really lend much to the Bubba side of things, but the Tom Hanks, the Forrest Gump thing was so nuanced. He crushed that role. It's hard to. I mean, I have a hard time picking anybody else over him.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard now, but I wanted to ask you about that because earlier, a couple months ago, we reviewed Devil All the Time. The Devil All the Time. And we talked about the accents in the movie. And I wanted to know if the accents felt true to you, if they were a little off. Does it even matter? Because we kind of picked on the accents in that movie. So I'm just asking because this movie's way up here. Devil All the Time is, is not as it's not going to be remembered after this year.
It's hard for me to really critique that because I grew up with this movie before I really like had a sense of it, so it's all just like ingrained.
Brandon based all his southern accents on this movie, actually.
Yeah. No, I just
this is where
it's
I got
hard
my
for
accent.
Me. I don't know. It's ingrained in me every line of this movie.
My daddy's daddy.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Ryan, anything about the accents for you?
I nothing. That didn't take me out of the movie at all with this one.
I know you weren't as big a stickler
as an Alabamite or whatever you guys are. How do you feel about it?
Oh, these people don't sound like anybody from Alabama I've ever met in my life. I've never met anybody. I mean, it doesn't. The thing is because I did watch this at a young age, and I wasn't so critical of movies at that time. I mean, I probably was. But not to the degree for the same reasons, I wasn't jaded yet with life, So yeah. No, I Forrest Gump. It's hard to watch the accent now. Not that it makes me cringe. It's just that I'm like, whoo, that's just not how people sound in the South. Period. So, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was just I don't know, something you said made me think of this, but I think it's funny because I just saw this movie.
Oh yeah.
It made as I was watching this, all I wanted to do was watch Tropic Thunder. It's usually the opposite, I'm sure, for people because most people have seen this movie before they saw Tropic Thunder.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I do appreciate the fact that I saw this movie. Before, I saw this. I don't know if I saw it.
Became a miserable person.
Yeah, before I became a miserable person, I had to deal with y'all. But I mean,
yeah,
I just don't. I mean, I saw this movie probably within the first couple weeks it came out. I don't remember exactly how far after, but I know my dad was really hyped on this, and it's really hard to get my dad in a movie theater. So, I would have done anything to go to see a movie. So,
yeah.
But I mean,
it's probably hard to get him to go to the theater because you made fun of him for crying when he went to see
probably, yeah, we made fun of him. Well, I mean, I still make fun of him to this day about that. So it's just, love you, Dad. Well, I do want to play a little game with you guys, and being that we're doing throwbacks, this movie won a lot of Oscars. I think it won 6, if I'm not mistaken, but we're about to find out. I have a list of the Oscar nominees and winners from the 1995 Oscars. So I thought we would go back
oh boy,
and see if you guys would still pick Forrest Gump to win the particular categories that it won. You game?
All right.
Here we go. All right.
Go for it.
So, leading actor,
Should we bring
Tom
our
Hanks.
wives in for this, or is this just...
No, you can call them if you want to. Ask
Okay.
them. You can have your own opinion today.
Okay, cool.
Actor in a leading role, Tom Hanks was the winner for Forrest Gump. His fellow nominees were, for Pulp Fiction, John Travolta, so almost Forrest Gump. And if he were in Forrest Gump, would he have been in Pulp Fiction, which was actually a good pick for him? Nobody's Fool, Paul Newman. The Madness of King George, Nigel Hawthorne. Everybody's household name there. Morgan Freeman from The Shawshank Redemption. So, knowing what you know now, would you... And there's no wrong or right answer. I'm just asking your opinion.
From the movies I've seen,
Oh, my God. So,
I would pick
Nigel
I would pick
Hawthorne?
Forrest Gump out of that one.
okay.
Yeah, I would... I mean, is Morgan Freeman even really the lead of Shawshank?
That's
like-
what the Academy said, Brandon. So that is the gospel as far as it goes at Hollywood, unfortunately.
I just wasn't... I mean, it seems like a sporting role to me, but... yeah, I'd go Forrest. I think they made the
Okay.
right choice. I think
Okay.
today it'd been the opposite, just because of the nature of this role. He wouldn't have been nominated, but
I don't think this movie would be made today.
Yeah, wouldn't have been
Yeah.
made. Well, they made The Fanatic, old Freddie D.
Well,
Made it
let's
last year.
be honest. Not on the same scale. I think that was like a shoestring budget.
Hey, don't watch
GoFundMe.
your
Yeah,
mouth
don't you
out.
question Fred's budgets.
yeah. Action. All right. So, everybody get on it. All right. Actor in a supporting role. Gary Sinise was nominated as Lieutenant Dan, but did not win. Quiz show, Paul Scofield. Chaz Palminteri for Bullets Over Broadway. Samuel L. Jackson for Pulp Fiction. And Martin Landau for Ed Wood, which I know you guys haven't seen Ed Wood.
I've only seen 2 of those
Brandon, what do you
movies.
think?
I'm just gonna say Forrest deserved to win all these awards. Okay.
Okay. I
I was like, oh my God, I hate you.
I mean,
guys.
I love Pulp Fiction, but I mean,
think Gary Sinise did a fine job, but I'm going to be honest with you.
who won it?
Martin Landau for Ed Wood.
That's
And
Tim
I will
Burton.
say yes. And that is a fantastic movie. But Martin Landau.
Black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know it's good.
No, it is good. It's Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp did a really good job in that movie. But
It's also in black and white.
So anyway, I would say, to be honest with you, Martin Landau, it's kind of hard to say he shouldn't have gotten it. But even if he hadn't gotten it, I would have chosen Samuel L. Jackson as a runner-up there. Because he was just... That's kind of what brought... I mean, I know that wasn't his first movie. That was like his 700th movie at that time. But that really was what made him a household name. So then we go on down to...
How many awards are we doing?
They won 6 total.
Okay.
They were nominated for a few. So let's go down to the best picture. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's just skip to that one.
All right. Quiz show. The Shawshank Redemption.
I don't want to embarrass you guys with my knowledge.
In honor of
Shawshank.
Alex Trebek, we're playing a game show.
Gotcha.
The Shawshank Redemption quiz show.
I feel like it.
Pulp Fiction. Yeah, you feel like a jerk now, don't you? 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Is that why you have the mustache?
That's even better reason. Alex, my dad's Al. Oh my gosh. And Forrest Gump. Now, Forrest Gump was the winner. Do you think that Forrest Gump should have been the winner out of
Yep.
those movies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. that.
All right.
I think.
Al, I think you overestimated me.
Well, I thought movie podcast. Maybe he's seen some movies, not just Batman cartoons. Now,
I just video game.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Now, just for fun, I'm going to ask you guys a question.
We're going to do 1996.
The 1996 Academy Awards.
Hang on, there's one more. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go, right here. Best visual effects. There's only 3 nominees for this one. This is the last one we're going to do.
Cool.
All right. Forrest Gump, The Mask, and True Lies.
Yeah, Forrest Gump.
I'm gonna go with that too. They kind of really set the standard that year.
I'm surprised. I mean, I guess Mask does have some pretty good visual effects for that time, but I mean, it's surprising that it's nominated. Though it just didn't seem like they would nominate a movie like that back then.
Yeah, almost a cartoon, So, and I don't remember True Lies having a whole lot of
True Lies. Maybe special effects more than I don't know, visual.
I don't know, but Forrest Gump ran away with that.
That's one of the things about this movie that I love is how. I mean, the archival integration, that stuff is very noticeable. I mean, it was noticeable back then, but it's still really cool how they pulled it off, how they integrated Forrest into those scenes with all the presidents and all the other.
I love the Watergate one. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I can't sleep.
They got these flashlights.
Yeah, so the part where the scene where Forrest is giving the speech and they pull the mic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So when they were writing this,
yeah,
exactly. They couldn't figure out how to what kind of speech to put in there. They didn't know if they wanted to put a real serious speech in there or something kind of kitschy and funny like the rest of the movie.
That was one of my favorite moments, and that's all I have to say about that.
So
said it all, man. Said it all. What's your name, man? My name's Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump. This is what you would have experienced if you watched this movie with me. I mean, I was just this
is Tyler's last name Duncan? So
wait, let's rearrange those letters. Is that spelled Brandon?
So they had a real epic speech written. Then they didn't like Zemeckis didn't like that, so they got Billy Crystal and Robin Williams to come in and write some pieces, some speech.
Who did Robin Williams steal it from?
Oh, shots fired!
Can't speak.
Those
evil. Bad of the dead. Sorry, my bad.
Some interesting stories. He actually repented for all of his sins, if that matter.
That's good.
Yeah, he went and paid a lot of people after he made it, so I forgive him. But of course, you saw
such a relief for him, I'm sure. The plug was pulled and things of that nature. So Tom Hanks was interviewed at one point, and somebody asked him, what did Forrest say? So this is what the speech. Tom Hanks. Brad Duncan.
Sometimes when people go to Vietnam, they go home to their mamas without any legs. Sometimes they don't get home at all. That's a bad thing. That's all I have to say about that. So I think it's better they plug the plug was.
Oh, it was hilarious the way they did it.
Yeah, so it was much better. Great. It was much better. But I remember the biggest takeaway for me visually for this movie was when I was a kid, I could not figure out how they removed his legs.
Yeah.
Gary
still
Sini's,
good.
Lieutenant.
I mean, it still holds up to me. Like, just watching it this weekend, I was like, this is good. Like, the way they pulled this off, like, I was looking for, the CG, nubs or whatever on his, clothing.
Yeah.
I know that they use like a combination of like tucking his legs under and green screen or green like leggings or whatever. And I was telling Melissa, like, whenever he's in the like hotel room with like the prostitutes or whatever, and he falls down, they purposely put that little like end table there so that when he spins around to sell that effect of him, because if his legs were there, he would have knocked over the table. But they put that there just as an extra little added element to sell that he really is, he doesn't have his legs.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, it was very well done. I mean, the technical.
One thing that it's super dumb, but one of the things that stood out to me was at the very beginning, the feather where it floats down and then he picks it up like all one shot. I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. CG feather into a physical feather
Transition, yeah. That's cool.
So
in Savannah.
Speaking of Savannah, that bench, the famous bench that he's sitting on, is him in Savannah, Georgia. This movie was primarily filmed in South and North Carolina, and then parts in Savannah, none in Alabama. But they like the Vietnam scenes were filmed in South Carolina, things of that nature. But the bench in Savannah in 2003 was auctioned off for, I think, $25,000. And they didn't want it to get ruined.
I thought it would have gone for more than that.
I was kind of surprised, but hey, it's in a museum in Savannah. So Brandon, you can actually go and look at the bench next time you're out there.
I've been to that square a lot. Paying.
And you thought you were looking at the real bench.
There's not a bench there, but yeah, I always kind of cut through there when we go visit. We have in-laws that live out there, so it's a good little visit. But have you guys, speaking of little like, not necessarily pilgrimages, but have you guys ever been into a Bubba Gump shrimp restaurant?
Yes.
I have not.
Yeah.
And
you need to do that. It's pretty fun. They do the Forrest Gump trivia. I always get all the questions right. It's good little. It's a good time.
That's Brandon's version of the SATs. So Brandon's
they have one.
Luna,
right?
Luna, pay attention. You're about to be real proud of Papa.
They have one in Daytona, so we hit that one up.
That's the story they have to tell Luna one day. Like, Mommy, where did I come
That's
from?
why you go down there.
We went to Bubba Gump Shrimp, and your daddy got all the trivia right. And 9 months later, you were here.
He's so impressed. Yep.
So not only the actors were possibly going to be different at one time, but so were the possible directors of this movie. So we have 2 directors that were in contention: Barry Sonnenfeld and Terry Gilliam. Are you guys familiar with either of these folks?
Yep.
Okay.
Nope.
So Sonnenfeld, Ryan, Men in Black, Addams Family, many other movies, but those are his Wild Wild West.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So then Terry Gilliam came up with Monty Python, and he kind of directed all their stuff like like Meaning of Life, Life of Brian, Holy Grail. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is not Monty Python, and then 12 Monkeys. So that doesn't make sense.
Seemed like Terry Gilliam for a long time was like associated with a lot of these movies that he never ended up making, but somebody else ended up making.
Well, he's kind of an odd duck. So if you ever get a chance to watch it, go on YouTube and watch Terry Gilliam in the Criterion Closet, where he's picking movies. It's a very interesting yet odd look into that director's mind. So it's just a few minutes long. But I think this movie would have been totally different. I don't think the effects would have been maybe even in the movie. I don't know if they. I know they wouldn't have been as effective. No pun intended. But
Nice.
Zemeckis, coming off Back to the Future trilogy, things of that nature. I mean, he
Roger
really,
Rabbit.
yeah, Roger Rabbit. I mean, he really knew how to work the camera the right way, like you were saying with the table and things of that nature. He just knew, his team knew how to do.
I really think we need to add a things of that nature counter to each episode in the corner.
Well, it's a good phrase.
I mean, Zemeckis has always kind of been a pioneer of tech, and
Yeah.
sometimes to his own detriment with like some of the like mocap-y like Polar
Did he
Expresses
do
of the world.
Beowulf?
Yeah, he did Beowulf, Polar Express.
That was pretty
I
bad.
didn't know that. It's interesting.
He kind of fell
Beowulf
into
was
that
pretty
for a
bad.
while.
Yeah.
Um,
And he did
but,
that.
I mean, did anybody ever see The Walk? The Joseph Gordon-Levitt
No,
the guy
had
that
no-
walked between the two towers.
No,
Oh no.
and I didn't see
talking about
Marwin or whatever it is. Marwin.
Mhm.
Welcome to
Yeah.
Marwin.
I mean,
Never saw that either.
he's kind of. I listened to a podcast called Blank Check, and they kind of go through the filmographies of directors, and they talk. Their premise is directors that have so much success that then they're just given a blank check to do whatever they want to for the rest of their
Right.
life, essentially for their career. And that's like after Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future trilogy, Forrest Gump especially. That just cemented him as a director that can do anything and everything he wants forever. And so that's kind of he's. I mean, I think. I guess the plane one with Denzel was like his biggest like critical hit as of late, as far as like a recent effort. What was it
Is that
called?
called Flight?
Flight. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I never
he
saw
hasn't
that
really-
either.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Um,
I saw it, guys. I saw that one.
We're holding auditions for a third person on a movie
I could see
podcast.
Denzel playing Bubba. Denzel would have been a good Bubba.
Denzel has a son.
Yeah, right. It's like every week we open. What are movies? I can appreciate this movie, like I said earlier, but it is hard for me to want to watch it again because now in my older days, this movie feels a little milquetoast to me, and I don't know. I don't know if it's not like it's a 90s like thing or whatever. It's not because it's like hokey because it was in the 90s and this is a different time or anything like that. It's just that I don't know. And one thing that I don't like about this movie, just flat out don't like, is their depiction of Paul Bear Bryant. I don't like it. It's terrible.
It's pretty bad.
It is
Yep,
awful.
I agree.
And they're
is
like,
that?
just throw a houndstooth cap on the guy.
Who is that?
The most famous outside
coach?
of Nick Saban,
Alabama coach?
Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
Not
did write
A.
down in my
That
notes.
explains it.
I did write down in my notes whenever he starts playing for Alabama. Roll Tide, Forrest.
So that's the one thing. But I grew up, being an Alabama fan, so I didn't hold that against the movie or anything. I'm just saying it was you could tell they were just like, whatever, just throw a houndstooth cap on that guy, tell him to yell at some players in a Southern accent, whatever, no big deal. So,
Yeah.
It didn't bother me.
but I don't know.
Really?
Speaking of accents,
then-
I did read that Forrest based his accent on the kid that played him as the young Forrest.
Yeah.
Like that's who he modeled. That kid's own actual accent is who he based his own accent on for Forrest.
Yeah. I have a hard time
What are we
believing
talking
he
about
talk
movement?
like that. I have a hard time. It's like Sling Blade's cousin. So, but I think this is. Tom Hanks won back-to-back for Best Actor. I think only one other person has done that in the history of cinema. And, he is probably the most beloved, or one of the most beloved American actors of all time. He's like the guy next door. Everybody just kind of loves the guy. So
Yeah.
I know Philadelphia was a big movie for him, but I think this really catapulted him to that next level of being a household name. I mean, he was in The Burbs and all the quirky movies I like, but
Yeah. Well, as a
So people
10-year-old,
knew him.
it definitely was my first exposure to him. So,
yeah, I saw quite a few of his movies. I saw Turner and Hooch in the theater.
I saw Turner and Hooch, but I'm pretty sure it was after seeing this.
Yeah, I saw The Burbs. I mean, quite a few times. I love that movie. Trying to think. I didn't see Joe versus Volcano, but I mean, quite a few. And then I even like Tom Hanks in the Nora Ephron movies. You've got Mel and Sleepless in Seattle. I like him in those. He's just a likable guy in those movies. So,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Tom Hanks, America's dad. He's like,
I'm just not a fan of
Yeah.
those movies.
His
I
daughter.
don't have anything against Tom Hanks in those movies, but
His daughter is in this movie. Do you know where? And
think.
Robert Zemeckis' son is in the same scene.
I don't know.
Seats taken.
Is it on? I was gonna say, is it on the school bus?
Seats taken.
How many times has that been quoted? I swear, every time that I go like floating down the river and we have to get on the bus, somebody on the bus says that. Like,
Might give some context to floating down the river. No, it's funny
the
because
river.
there's
river.
there's the two kids sitting in the seat together and they're like, seats taken. Well, of course it's taken. Like, why do you even have to say anything? There's two kids.
sit here.
It's just, yeah, no, but well, Brandon, do you want to wax poetic anymore about Forrest Gump?
I don't know how much. I mean, seriously,
We're gonna send this video to Melissa for Christmas.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I hadn't watched Forrest Gump in, I don't know, 6 or 7 years until this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I was a little like nervous because I hadn't returned to it in a while, and I was, hoping it was going to hold up, and it did. I love it. It's so good. I just
Release the Gilliam cut.
I just remember. I mean, yeah.
For some reason, that was so much funnier with your mustache.
I don't know. I love every part of this movie. There's nothing about this movie that I would change. The only part that I think isn't like, okay, when he's doing his running phase and the little like when he comes up with the smiley face T-shirt and the and being bleep me out when it comes up with that bumper sticker, I'm like,
that time down, Al.
That's a little like, okay, doesn't work as well for me now, but everything else it's just like firing it on all cylinders. It's like I said, I love the score, I love the music, all the music drops. This is a movie that has needle drops that just like work so well in this movie, and yeah, they're a little on the nose, like, with the lyrical content matching up to what's going on in the scene at times, but I just think they just make this era come alive so much, so well for me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all the
Did you
characters.
know anybody that didn't own the soundtrack? I think everybody owned this soundtrack at one point.
No, I
or
mean,
another.
I haven't looked it up, but I imagine this was like one of the best selling soundtracks.
It went platinum.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's like it's essentially what the like now that's what I call music like compilation things are.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the list of songs right now. I want to say this. I just want to put this out there. Can we stop putting Fortunate Son in every single military scene? Not Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump, I think, maybe started it. But Hollywood, please, just just because you talk about Vietnam doesn't mean you have to put that.
Last time I saw that happen was Tropic Thunder, and it was a spoof. So.
Yeah, but I've seen it. I've seen it so many times, and it's just so on the nose. It's like, let's be original. Let's come up with something new. Forrest Gump did it. It was spoofed. 1,000 other movies have done it. Let's chill out. Let's find another song. Hey,
not a lot of
Credence,
Vietnam movies out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this one and Tropic Thunder.
That's a lot of them. That's right.
We Were Soldiers, like 3 of them.
Thinking about it, was it in Tropic Thunder?
I don't know.
I know they had the Temptations on there.
It could be. I'm thinking like maybe when they're in the helicopter, there's some sort of something like that when they're flying out.
I think that's the Temptations. I could be wrong.
Could be.
Well,
yeah, it could be.
Well, I wanna talk about some like a character in the movie.
Okay.
Character
The lovely
Jenny.
Bobby Dylan.
Well, one little factoid: the voice of Elvis in the movie. Do you know who voiced Elvis?
I feel like I'm about to.
Mr. Kurt.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mr. Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
He's uncredited, but he himself in an interview said, "Yes, I did voice it." Blah blah blah. So it has been corroborated.
Some of that little thing you did with your legs there, son.
But he did play Elvis in another movie. So,
yeah, totally. The speaking of that little era when he's like a kid and the your mama sure cares about your schooling, boy. That whole I think I got in trouble a few times for quoting that scene.
Yeah, that guy that comes out and like patting his face. That's one of the bad accents. But
Mr. Gump, Mrs. Gump.
But Jenny, let's talk about Jenny for a minute. Jenny's a jerk. Jenny is a jerk. Jenny, in the book, was not abused by her father, was not sexually molested by her father or whatever they insinuated. By Forrest saying he always had his hands all over her and
he was always kissing and touching her and her sisters.
And so anyway, that's not in the book. Also in the book, Forrest is a much more gruff kind of guy, so I could almost see some of the other people that were in the running, no pun intended, for the role. But Jenny uses and abuses Forrest quite a bit, and
I think that's kind of the point, though.
Yeah,
it's just showing how resilient he is as a character, and just how just pure Forrest is in terms of his love for Jenny, and he'll do anything and everything he can for her, and he stays true to her for his whole life, regardless of how terrible she treats him.
But in the book, she's
and that's
not
just Forrest in a nutshell, not just with Jenny, but just
But in the book, Dan. In the book, like I said, she doesn't have the issues with her father. She has the issues with. I mean, she has issues with her father. She has daddy issues still. She doesn't have the same the heightened issues with her father in the book that she has in the movie, and I think the movie gives more. I guess you want to say leeway for her to be a little manipulative, abusive towards Forrest, and I don't know how that could possibly, she's just a jerk in the book, basically, is what I'm saying, but they made that work in the movie, so she, she's in and out of his life and everything, and nowadays that's one of those things, like if this were my first time seeing this movie, that would have aggravated me. She just happens to be everywhere he is. I get it, blah blah blah, I saw this when I was a kid, whatever, but she's just kind of a jerk, and then she ultimately dies of what everybody thinks is AIDS in the movie, which is Hep C in the book. They call it a virus, unknown virus in the movie, from drug use and things of that nature. And she's just a very selfish character, and as an older person, it's hard for me to even. It's hard for me to, I don't know, forgive her for her transgressions, so to speak. So I just wanted to ask you guys, did you have any problem with the character Jenny, or were you just like Brandon was saying, this just highlights Forrest even more?
I'll let Ryan take this one, but just to kind of add on what I said before I let him talk.
I'll let Ryan take this one second.
I don't think personally, I don't think they portray her as necessarily a jerk in this movie. I think they just portray her as she's just kind of free-spirited. Yeah, I mean, she is a little more self-centered. She just, she's got issues, obviously. She's got daddy issues. She's always looking for something to fill that void in her life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the saving grace for her character for me is the times where they show her like contemplating suicide. Mm-hmm. So like the mental health angle, like she's not just being like, I don't know, just straight up like mean on purpose. Like she's dealing with stuff, and I feel like those moments like help to like bring her back a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really see her. We don't see her doing well. Like after high school, she's off doing like nudie shows, playing music, whatever. And then the next time you see her, she's like a hippie, and then she's a druggie, and then she ends up coming back to Forrest, and then she leaves just because she's scared of commitment in general. Mm-hmm. She leaves. It's just her nature. She's like one of those type of people that just you can't rely on. She's just gonna disappear at a moment's notice once things get too perfect. Once things go well for people, they feel like they don't deserve it. She's one of those types of characters that just they just run from anything like that. And so, but then she seems like she gets her life together once Forrest is on his run. She has a kid. She's a waitress. She's making an honest living, and then she gets sick and whatnot. But
yeah,
I don't know. I didn't see her as necessarily a jerk. Maybe she is that way, like you're saying in the book. I think that they made her a little bit more sympathetic because she actually is like, she has vices and she has things that kind of put her in that kind of state of mind. So,
yeah, and in the book, Forrest had more adventures. One adventure I will talk about is he went to space. He was an astronaut in the book.
Nice.
So he goes even further. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
Didn't they make a Forrest Gump sequel book? Didn't they do that?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Well, he did. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, this movie. I think if I came on here tonight and I was like, I think I'd be kicked off the show by the audience. So treading lightly. I'll tell you how I feel later.
Ryan, I'm just curious. Seeing this for the first time, really for the first real time, as however old you are now. I don't know how old you are.
67.
Younger than me, but you're seeing it without that nostalgia, like those rose-tinted glasses. I know you said you enjoyed it, but I mean, did anything like seeing it in 2020, like did anything like not hold up? Like we often talk about watching movies through an older lens. Like I mean, and this movie would kind of fall in that category now at this point. Just curious how that.
No, yeah, I mean, like you said, it is kind of looking at it through that lens, but no, there's nothing that like. This is one that like I would like to watch again soon, just because there's so many like you could pull so many quotes from it.
Katie made you hold your eyes when she was playing guitar.
It's something that you. It's something that you like don't see very often in movies anymore. So it's
story.
Kind of cool oh God, here we go. It's I don't know. It was kind of refreshing it was kind of cool to not have seen this movie and be able to jump in to experience something like that again, where like like old comedies where you'd leave the theater and you'd be like, I want to go back and see that again in theaters just because Like you enjoy it,
Well, I
but
think
also there's very quotable.
that's what I miss about that era. You know, the era before the internet, essentially, as far as movie watching is concerned, because that's what we did when movies came out. We watched them over and over and over and over because we didn't have a million things to stream or get caught up on, and that rewatchability, even for things that, you know, maybe didn't deserve as much rewatchability, but we did it because that's just what we had. And so I feel like we don't have those types of movies as often now because we don't have time to give movies more and more chances.
I agree. I think there's also the element of like the humor's a little different. Like it's less like situation. Like there's so many comedies now are like situational humor, and like there's just more like there's more meat to the humor in this movie where you can pull these kind of quotes from it.
Well, there's heart behind it. There's heart and not just punchlines. And that's what a lot of movies are missing nowadays. They're missing story, not just ways to get to the next punchline. And they actually have heart behind the characters, not just a buffoon or a jester to belt out the funny. I would say most movies nowadays, they have like a scene and then they write a bunch of stuff to get to that scene versus having arcs and things of that nature built first.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like I think of movies like Dumb and Dumber, like
that movie's actually structurally sound as far as story goes.
Right, but I wouldn't say that like they're just like I wouldn't say that those characters have a lot of heart. Like that's not what endears me to those characters in that movie. Like I don't know.
But I'm just saying, you know, the fact that now, kind of to Brandon's point, they have to churn out so much stuff nowadays that it's not.
I don't even think it's a volume thing. Like we just don't see comedies. Like
well comedies don't make money.
Comedies, they're not the same.
For instance, I know that when we reviewed Palm Springs, Ryan, you and I were both pretty high on it. And I remember talking about like this is a movie that I could see me like a couple years, you know, like 10 years ago, watching this on repeat and quoting, having a lot of quotes to pull from it. But I just don't have time to rewatch things as much anymore, and so it's going to be one of those. Yeah, that was good, and then move on to the next thing. I think that. You know, there are ones that still movies that are getting, but you know, not just straight up comedies that are like going to be like classic comedies. They're like Palm Springs had like a hook to it, a little different kind of twist to it, you know, so it wasn't just a straight up comedy. So you just don't see them, and the ones that you do see are just like straight to Netflix, Happy Madison type stuff that's just like so disposable and you know. Whatever.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, let's take just to illustrate my point even further is that let's take the Adam Sandler movies of then and now. Then those characters, they're buffoonish characters. However, they actually have heart and they actually have a point to get to and things of that nature. Now it's just farts and throwing up and, you know, falling over and stuff like that. There's very little heart. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would attribute, again, with Adam Sandler stuff, I would attribute that to writing as well. Like, the dialogue's just not, like, I don't know. It's kind of like what you're saying, like, situational, fart jokes, whatever. There's nothing, like, real substance. But, like, I watch Happy Gilmore, like, I don't know if I'm, like, super, like, if that character's super endearing to me or anything.
I'm not saying like it's a drama or anything like that. I'm saying they actually have motive. They actually have a heart. They actually have something driving them. Most characters and we'll stay on the Adam Sandler stuff. I mean, I watched Hubie Halloween. There's not much driving that character. There's not much driving the last few Adam Sandler movies. I can't say that I've seen them all, but I've seen maybe 2 or 3 of his Netflix movies. There's not much drive in the character. It's really kind of like what I was saying, that like, hey, we have a funny scene in mind. Let's write a couple other scenes to get to that point. Then we have another funny scene and things like that. So I mean, that definitely, I think it is.
I agree that plays into it for sure. I think that it's like kind of like low hanging fruit. and
they just have to churn out so much nowadays for all these because everybody's getting exclusive deals, and I mean, any one of us would take the $60 million deal.
I agree with you on all that. Like, that's not. I'm not arguing that point. Like, it's just like a machine these days. But
yeah, exactly.
I just think that like battery's dead. The
well, you lose this argument. Sorry.
Like the quality. Yeah. Ryan out. The quality of the writing back then, versus now, because they, like, it wasn't a volume thing.
Yeah.
It's different. Like, I don't know. It's not necessarily about like how, like, what the character's ultimate goal is or what they're trying to work towards. It's just like the writing was better because there was, they're not trying to churn and burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before we end this review, I do want to mention Sally Field.
Brandon wrote a poem.
I don't think we talked about Sally Field yet. I love her in general, and I think she's awesome in this movie. And her just she reminds me of just so many like ladies around here, my mom, other people that have been in my life, just like good-hearted, Southern women. And I think that Sally Field kind of is on a similar playing field as Tom Hanks as far as her her status in Hollywood. She's just a sweetheart of an actress, and I think that her Miss Gump is awesome. And
funny thing is, she's only 10 years older than Tom Hanks. So but I like Sally Fields too. I mean, haven't seen her in much that wasn't that at least I can say she was good in. I can't say I liked all the movies, but I can say that she was good. And
she's always good.
Gary Sinise, and she gave one of the most famous speeches. Gary Sinise,
her Oscar speech.
Yeah, she's got one of the most famous speeches ever. So go look that up if you don't know it. And Gary Sinise was good. I think that his stuff, that this movie really inspired him to do a lot for soldiers and things of that nature. So he's got a lot of charitable. I think he's got an organization of his own that goes out and helps the military families and such. And then he has a band, and they go over and play for the soldiers at different bases and stuff like that. So that's cool.
You don't see him in as much high-profile stuff anymore. I know he's still working, but
right. And I mean, the guy that played Bubba, Kelty Williamson, he said he had a hard time getting work after this period, except for a bunch of TV shows, because of the lip plate they had to put in there to keep his lip popped out. People didn't believe it was him. Yeah. People were like, "You're not the guy."
Yeah, no.
They thought.
I mean, that allowed him to just embrace that character so much. But I'm sure that it kind of was a double-edged sword for him.
Yeah, I still can't imagine Ice Cube doing that. Wouldn't have had the heart. He brought a lot of heart to that role.
He'd put an Ice Cube in his lip.
Was that Ice Cube or Tupac?
Ice Cube and Tupac. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Dave Chappelle and David Allen Greer. So 2 Daves and 2 rappers. Well, folks.
But Robin Wright is still working. She is lovely.
And she's no longer Robin Wright Penn. So she went through all of that, and now she's back to Robin Wright.
You're not focusing on the important stuff.
Antiope. Coming to a small screen near you on HBO Max.
Good God.
2021.
So anyway, all right, guys. That's our reviews of.
And that's
Forrest
all we
Gump.
have to say about that.
Oh boy. So Brandon, this is your week. You won. So let's ask you first.
Okay.
Buy it, flip it.
Buy it.
Okay. That was easy enough.
Buy it. I will say this. If you're going to buy it, I have read that the 4K transfer is not good. there is a anniversary edition that they released pretty close to the 4K edition. It's just Blu-ray, it's not 4K, but that transfer is top-notch from what Blu-ray.com says. So get that one. Don't get the 4K.
Yeah, that's right. We all read a website called Blu-ray.com. Come at us, yo. So,
in the comments,
we are all guilty of this. It's a really good website. Go check it out, Blu-ray.com.
it is. Some great sales right now,
But
by the way.
it's
if you're,
blue-ray.com, right?
Correct.
We'll put that in the description so you guys can click on it. It's a really good website.
Or we'll forget about it and we won't. So.
No, we'll do it.
You can also just go to Blu-ray without a hyphen, and we'll take you there.
Yeah. Ryan, what would you do? Would you throw this against the wall, punch it in the face, buy it? What would you do?
I'm gonna buy it.
Are you gonna buy it though?
I am gonna buy it. That's what I said. I'm gonna buy
Gonna
it.
buy it.
Yeah, we got an hey, anybody got the movie? Like, I need a link or something, please.
You guys are such movie snobs.
I was like, I'm not giving you access to my Criterion. So I would say see this movie. I would say see it. Like I said, I don't need to see it again. I've seen it quite a bit in my life. But it's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's pretty good. It's really well done. It's really well made. But yeah, at least see it so you can understand where people are coming from with all the quotes, and watch it and then study the history that's in the movie. It's probably the best history class you're going to get these days. So, all right, folks, that's our review of Forrest Gump.
We did it.
We did it.
Thanks again,
did
everyone,
it.
for voting.
We all got
I
along for
enjoyed
2
this
weeks straight. So
That's right.
we did it.
Knock on wood.
All right, so now we're going to talk about what
Well,
we're going to put up.
Yep, that's right. Recommendations. Sorry.
We got to let Al finish
Breaking
saying what
the
he's
flow.
saying. So,
I'm mad.
look at him getting all cocky because he won. I mean, jeez, Lou.
Yeah, chill out, Brandon.
Cheese and rice.
Give him an inch, it takes a mile.
Come on, guy. All right. So this week our genre is 90s thrillers. Ooh. So let's go with we'll talk about where you can vote in a minute. Ryan, why don't you go ahead and throw out your pick for this week?
I am going to go with some Anthony Hopkins here, and I'm going to request that people vote for this movie because Brandon has not seen this movie.
I think I know what you're going to
And
say.
he needs to see this movie.
Do I know what you're going to say?
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, snap.
Do it.
Crackle. Pop. That
I'll
is
have
a
to see
good
if I can get my
movie.
Criterion copy back.
Now, Brandon's going to text next week if it wins. He's going to be like, hey, guys, can I get a login or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Al's just going to come over with his Criterion copy.
Brandon, what's your
My-
choice?
My vote is going to be David Fincher's Seven.
David
Sold
Fincher's
it.
7. Okay, interesting.
SE7EN if you're going to search for it. Just so you
Brandon
know.
failed a lot of spelling tests due to this movie. So, going around talking like Forrest Gump, spelling stuff wrong.
Al?
Yeah.
What are you picking?
I have a movie in mind, and I want to pick it. I think I'm gonna
Do it. Pick it.
I want to do. I was gonna say Misery. It's a really good movie, and I think everybody should see it.
It's about Al's life.
Yeah, exactly. It's just 2 hours of me watching Zack Snyder movies. So
It's Al watching his Criterion collection.
those movies are great. That's me happy. That's me like Brandon tonight. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pull a wild card here, and I'm gonna double up. we're going Silence of the Lambs 2 times tonight. We're going to make Brandon watch Silence of the Lambs. And you know what? Melissa needs to join to watch that movie because this movie is fantastic. This movie needs to be seen. Brandon, much like Ryan tonight, needs to see this like Ryan needed to see Forrest Gump. So everybody please vote for Brandon.
Brandon,
he will not.
Al definitely didn't plan this beforehand.
He will not regret it at all. He will not regret it, and neither will all of you.
I'm not opposed to it, but it's up to the people.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
We will not fix the vote, and if you throw your vote in for misery, you can.
We never fix the vote.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So let's vote for Silence of the Lambs. Let's do that. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. Now, Ryan, you want to tell them where they can vote, how they can vote, where they can be heard, where their voices.
If you're watching on YouTube, throw your vote down in the comments.
Oh, snap.
Comments.
Mm.
And if you're on Instagram, you can follow us at CiNEMACHiNE, and we'll also have a graphic up there where you can vote.
Yeah. Guys and gals, once again, Brandon, congratulations for your first win. It's a thing of beauty. It really is.
You. I appreciate it.
We're all on the board. We don't have to feel sorry for you anymore.
Feels good.
Guys and gals, we're going to see you in the wrap-up where Brandon tells us about the latest movie news, and we all talk about what we've been watching for the past week. So we'll see you in the wrap-up.
So long.
All right, welcome to the wrap-up. First and foremost, Brandon is going to tell us about the news. Brandon, take it away.
We got a few things that we're going to hit upon, and so many things, in fact, that we're just going to kind of gloss over a few. We talked about Johnny Depp getting let go of Fantastic Beasts. Well, apparently Mads Mikkelsen is taking over the role of Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts 3. I imagine that they were probably wanting Colin Farrell to return, but I think since he's tied up with the Batman, because Colin Farrell played that character in the first movie. So, yeah, Mads Mikkelsen, thoughts on that character, that actor?
He's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah, you should go back and watch some of his earlier stuff with Nicholas Winding Refn.
I guess the first thing I think most people probably would be Casino Royale. As far as I kind of put him on the map in a big way, at least. But yeah, I mean that's positive. I don't care too much about this franchise anymore. I'll see it out of just curiosity and because I'm a completionist. But I mean that's good. That's good news because I like him.
This may be the first one that I wait till home release to see.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see the last one in theaters. I saw it at home, but. Anyway, all right, next thing. David Fincher has a 4-year exclusive deal with Netflix. He has Mank coming out this month, I believe, on Netflix. And
which it kind of bit me a little bit because I really wanted him to keep doing Mindhunter, but it sounds like he's not going to do Mindhunter anymore. Then he signs a deal with Netflix.
Well, and that's on Netflix. So maybe he'll bring it back.
Yeah,
never know.
I hope they don't water him down.
Well, I think
they will. Yeah.
He even mentioned this in this article that it
cancel your subscription yet.
It just kind of depends. He kind of sees himself as kind of a niche filmmaker at this point, and so I think Netflix is honestly a good platform for him to be on if he's wanting to do more kind of very auteur films like this, because I mean theatrical window is getting more and more just who even knows what that's going to look like going forward. So I think him being on Netflix, I personally don't know how Mank's going to do in terms of just overall views for Netflix. I think it's the cinephile type crowd is going to latch onto it, but casuals I just don't think are going to seek it out, or if they do turn it on, I don't think they're going to last very long with it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, they're betting heavy on him. I mean, he is a name for for Netflix to have, and they've had him in their back pocket ever since House of Cards. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, 4-year exclusive deal. So basically, they have right of refusal of anything that he does for the next 4 years. Yeah. The other thing that I want to talk about was we reviewed Tenet not too long ago, and we talked about how Tenet kind of has a weird mixing issue. He went on record last week saying that he's actually had other directors reach out to him, kind of questioning his sound mixing.
Yeah, well, I don't care what you think.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I don't care what you have to say. Yeah.
I've also decided that whenever we do our second Tenet review, a second screening, me and Al should do it in a British accent.
Do it.
For Brandon.
Be glad to do that very much.
Okay.
Same.
Yep.
Make
Nothing
it
really
garble.
much else to that one besides I agree. Work on it. Do better.
Look, I say if you want to have garbledy-goop in your tracks, I can understand it. I don't understand what's wrong with all these other people's ears, so let it fly, Christopher.
Yeah, I don't know.
You heard it straight from Al himself.
All right. Next little bit. Warner Brothers is basically it's been reported that Warner Brothers is kind of figuring out if they are going to keep Wonder Woman 84 as a theatrical Christmas Day release and put it out on HBO Max 2 weeks later.
Do it.
I know that Ryan and I both kind of feel that they just got to put this thing out.
If this movie gets delayed to summer, I'm out.
Nobody's going to the theater to see that movie.
I'll see it when it comes out on physical.
I think that if they put it out in
principle.
theaters, people will go see it in theaters on Christmas. I mean, there are markets
the way I'm
that are
looking
still
at
open.
it is they're talking about more shutdowns, so I think it's just going to kind of shoot themselves in the foot. So,
well, they're shooting themselves in the foot by continually delaying movies because theaters are going bankrupt. So,
I agree. I mean, but especially if they put it on HBO Max 2 weeks later, I think people will be like, whatever. I'll just kind of stay at home and wait for it.
I agree. I mean, I think that anytime they announce, we're doing it in theaters and it's coming to,
I think any theater stuff's just icing on the cake if they make that decision.
People are going to be sitting at home like, I got my new Black Friday TV and I want to be watching it in 75 inches and it's going to be all right.
Warner's pouring a lot of change into HBO Max, so
I mean,
could be a huge one for them.
Streamers are the future. Speaking of HBO Max, now available on Amazon devices, which has been long coming. It's just waiting on Roku at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brandon.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I
Yeah,
got
that's
Roku
a good.
as well.
That's a good sign going forward. I did find a workaround around that actually, Ryan. It's on PS4, so I'm actually able to watch it that way. But just gotta have the controller.
I have a PS4. I'll have to do that.
Yeah, there you go.
You're good.
All right. Speaking of cinemas,
I have to put it on my. Is it on PS5? I've got
Oh, you got one of those?
got about 6 of them, one in each room.
Cool.
No
man.
big deal.
Yeah.
got one in each bathroom.
He keeps them.
Yeah, I wouldn't broadcast that.
He doesn't even open them.
Al's house is gonna get raided.
Okay.
Okay.
How many criterions you could flip those things for?
So Ryan, you sent us this article a few days ago, I think. Cinemark has made a deal with Universal to essentially. So this thing, 10% of PVOD rentals will go to the aback. So basically, they made a deal where for I think AMC, Cinemark. They're gonna have like a week window, or is it a 2 week window? I can't remember.
17
days, to where if it hits, was it 50 million?
50 million, yeah.
Then
Did you read the story, Brandon?
Yes, I'm reading it right now. Then they basically have the choice. They can go ahead and put it on VOD. They could keep it in theaters while it's simultaneously running on VOD. But basically, if they decide to do that, then 10% of that VOD revenue is going to go to exhibitors, which basically translate to I think it's 15% of that 10% would go to Cinemark. Is basically the way it's broken down. So basically 1% of the entire thing will go to
yeah. This deal's good news. Hopefully this starts.
The only bad thing is it's Cinemark.
Well, AMC is also.
I'm just saying
AMC, I think, also had made a deal previously. I think
Cinemark
Regal hasn't yet, but also this is just Universal, so it's not movies in general. It's just one studio.
All I'm saying is it's good that this stuff is starting to happen because it needs to, one way or the other.
Yeah. I think we're just really getting ready for the inevitable, though, and unfortunately, I think it's going to go to south. I think movie theaters are going to be far and few in between. And hey, if they all end up like Draft House, change. I'm fine with it. If they all end up just like the Alamo Draft House, awesome. I like them.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be like. I mean, I think eventually there could be like a kind of a renaissance with it all, like kind of like records are right now. Like people are like getting into records. I think that having like boutique theaters will be another like revival at some point.
Yeah, I mean they're even saying that that Blockbuster might come back in a small capacity now. They're saying that it might come back in smaller stores and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So you just never know what's going to happen. I think people are just throwing ideas out there to see if they grow legs. And
it's going to be interesting. I mean, we talk about this a lot. I feel like it's like one of our main news stories every week as far as
why you buy physical media.
Well, I just like seeing movement towards something other than let's just delay this maybe till next year. Like,
no, I mean, it's definitely.
Brandon's
it's really
start charging admission for sure.
All right, last story that I have is just something I thought was pretty hilarious, which is Spike Lee was announced that he's directing a musical about Viagra.
Yep.
Okay, number one, Spike Lee. Number two, musical. I don't know anything about Viagra. I'm just saying I know. But
yeah, sure you don't know.
Man, Spike Lee, you are not a very good director. You're just not a good director. I don't like musicals. So,
but I know
go away.
I hear you say that a lot. But you just said the other day that you really like Nightmare Before Christmas. What's the catch with that one?
It's not real people. It's like the Disney movies. It's not real people. It doesn't take me out of it when I'm watching something. Like they just kind of fit it in there, So, yeah. I can't do musicals. Yeah. And I know it'll probably be about how. Ugh. Nice, Brandon.
But yeah, I just thought that was hilarious. The headline was like, "Okay, I'm gonna add this to the doc," just because it was like 3 things that I would never associate: Spike Lee, musical, Viagra. I mean, I'm sorry, Spike. Maybe Viagra is up your alley.
I think that shows that he's getting desperate. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, he's gotten the Five Bloods movie got some critical acclaim.
Yeah, that didn't get it because it was a Spike Lee movie though. Got it because of political stuff. So, all right. Thanks, Brandon.
Sure.
I'm sad. Spike Lee's still making movies.
Well,
at least we know we won't see it in the theater. All right. So this week, what have you guys been watching? Ryan, let's start with you.
So I watched Pitch Black for the first time in a long time. Have either of you seen this movie?
Is that Vin Diesel?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's like
I've seen it a long time ago.
It's like think it's like late 90s.
I know
It's
they
like-
put a special edition out about a year ago, maybe even a few months
Yeah.
ago.
What were you saying, Brandon?
I remember it being like the first Vin Diesel like starring role type movie. I mean, I know
This movie's actually pretty, like, again, for a Vin Diesel movie, this movie's pretty good. And surprisingly, like, the like monsters and stuff in it, that like it held up really well. I was expecting to watch this movie and be like just totally underwhelmed by it. But it's a fun interplanetary action flick.
Mhm.
And if it's kind of weird to see Vin Diesel this young in a movie.
He still look like a toe.
Yeah, I watched it. Do I?
Does he still look like a toe?
I suppose so, Al.
There we go.
Does Brandon?
No, Brandon doesn't look like a toe.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I watched.
you would
Fancy.
recommend people check it out.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. I remember I watched it and then
Didn't they make-
watched the what was the
The sequel's terrible.
what
I was about to say,
Chronicles-
didn't they make a sequel?
Chronicles of Riddick. I played the video game because he had his own like video game company and he made a Riddick.
Really?
They made a third one too that's just called Riddick, and it was actually pretty good as well. They kind of went back more towards the pitch black side of things.
Word.
Awesome.
I mean, I
Brandon.
remember Riddick coming out, but I never saw that one either.
Brandon, what you been watching?
Katie Sackhoff's in that one.
Okay.
Ugh,
Ow.
more bad acting.
So you know Al's
Give it
gonna
up,
watch
Katie. Give
just
it up,
gonna-
Katie
I'm
Sackhoff.
I'm just going to go through real quickly. We watched as a family Mandalorian season 1. I was rewatching it with Luna, and we just finished that first season this past weekend. I really enjoyed it a lot more than my first watch. And we're also, if you don't know already, we are reviewing season 2 here on this channel, but through the Cape Cast umbrella.
Closed
And,
captions.
And yeah, this last episode should be pretty interesting. If you haven't checked those out and you're watching Mandalorian, give them a little watch.
Yeah, I would. It's interesting you were saying that you're enjoying it more the second go around. The first 2 episodes of Mando this season I've watched twice, and I've liked them a lot better on second viewing.
Cool. That's cool. Good. I'm about to watch those as well again with Luna, so I'll give you my thoughts on that later. The other thing that I will talk about is we watched The Social Dilemma, and now I'm, scared for our.
You're scared to be on
existence.
this call right now. It's like, I can't do the podcast anymore, guys.
Well, I listened
So-
to that guy on
On Rogan.
and then watched the it felt like a series because it took Melissa and I 4 nights to finish it. It's just like an hour and a half documentary, but she kept falling asleep, so anytime she falls asleep I'm like, well, turn it off because I'll just have to rewatch it again if I finish it. So
Did
yeah,
you cancel any of your accounts?
I haven't canceled anything, but I mean, honestly, I only use social media for music, my band, and this thing. So like,
The band.
if I didn't have those 2, I would absolutely get rid of Facebook and Twitter. Well, I can't say Twitter because I use that a lot for
right. I was
Snyder
gonna say
stuff.
there's no chance.
But I would totally get rid of Facebook. I hate Facebook. If I wasn't playing music, totally get rid of it.
I hate social media, so it works out.
Yeah, I like Instagram. Instagram is pretty innocent to me. Like, you just put photos up.
It's owned by Facebook.
I know it is, but it's not political. It's not garbage everywhere.
Well, even LinkedIn is becoming political. I mean, they're just going to pour that poison all over the place. So it's unfortunate.
LinkedIn's kinda always
If
been
you
like
haven't
that.
watched The Social Dilemma, I would definitely recommend it. It is eye-opening, and Yeah.
If you guys want us to do a deep dive on Social Dilemma, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I don't want to, but
You and Melissa can watch it 4 more nights.
yeah,
Season
season 2. But yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah, I was going to talk about Ozark, but I haven't got into it far enough to, and it's old news anyway, so who cares? Go.
I am in
Not older than Pitch Black.
in line with what we're doing this month, the 90s throwback, Shamalama Ding Dong. I decided to go back and well, it's close to Thanksgiving, so I wanted to watch Thanksgiving movies, and I started out with a movie called Dutch with Ed O'Neill, and Ethan Embry. I've seen this movie. I mean, it's like, you know how people watch Christmas Vacation every year for Christmas. I watch this every single year. I own this movie. Love this movie. It's fantastic. It's hilarious. It's John Hughes, so I mean, it's hard not to like it. And then another John Hughes movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is by far the best Thanksgiving movie I've ever seen.
It was on sale today when on that link I sent you. I thought about buying it actually.
Really? You haven't purchased it yet?
No, I had it on DVD. I don't know. It might have been VHS. My copy of it. I don't even remember. But no, I don't have it on Blu-ray.
Yeah. I just had John and Steve come over and act it out for me. I mean, his podcast dollars get me pretty set. But yeah. Well, John's dead. But anyway, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is just one of those movies. I could literally watch it 5 or 6 times in a row and not get tired of it. I love that movie so much. It's quotable. It's hilarious. It does have a lot of heart in that movie. And John Candy is one of the most underrated actors of all time. The performance he puts in for that movie shows his acting chops. And I mean, he's hilarious in the comedies that he was in. And this is a comedy, but it's more like a dramedy if you really think about it. And it's a really good story. I just love this movie to pieces. And my favorite scene in this movie is when Steve Martin is renting the car, and the car isn't there, and he has to walk back in from the lot, and he misses the bus and everything, and he's just had it, and he starts throwing F-bombs everywhere. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. And that little lady that's behind the counter that's in every single John Hughes movie, pretty much every single one anyway. She's hilarious. So I can't recommend this high enough. And how much was it when you saw it on sale, Brandon?
Not much.
Like $6.
$5 or $6. Yeah.
Yeah, go out and buy it. Just go out and buy it.
We'll mention it again. Blu-ray.com.
Mm-hmm.
They have some awesome physical media deals going on right now. So if you're a movie collector, check it out.
They sniff out all the deals. Yeah, they sniff out all the deals for you. You don't even have to go to all the different websites. And everybody's having, like we talked about last week, everybody's having their Black Friday kind of month of November sales right now. So seriously, do yourself a favor, spend $6, buy it a couple times, give it away as gifts, whatever. It's really good, and it's one that I think you and your family can sit around and laugh at. Now, remember, there is language in there, so you might not want to watch it with the kids right away. So
that's one that I haven't returned to in a while. I would actually like to watch it at some point.
It is hilarious. As a matter of fact, I might watch it again tonight. So
you should.
I might. It's like a warm blanket. Those aren't pillows.
That's a good tie-in.
Yes. Well, folks, I think that's everything that we've been watching this week. We've gone through the news. We've exhausted Forrest Gump. We talked about that quite a bit. Brandon won, finally. We can't say that enough. So make sure you vote. Ryan, you want to tell them again where they can vote?
Yep. And the comments on YouTube and at CiNEMACHiNE on Instagram.
There you go. So, folks, ladies and gentlemen, we know you're getting ready for Thanksgiving. We're very thankful for you watching our 90s throwback. We have one more week left of this, and then we will move on to December, where we'll probably be watching some Christmas movies, I imagine. So
we'll be able to do Mank here pretty soon.
Oh yeah, that does.
I think that's like December 4th. It comes out, I think. But could be wrong.
It comes out.
And I'm sure.
And,
I'm sure
and,
Al has
and
seen.
the Fat Man.
I'm sure that Al has seen Citizen Kane. Ryan, have you seen Citizen Kane?
No.
I haven't either. And I hear you got to watch it if you're going to watch Mank. So.
Oh, did not know that.
You're not gonna like it. Neither one of you.
Yeah, I know.
Too sophisticated for us.
Not saying that. I'm just saying from just the conversations we've had, I have a good feeling you won't like it. It's just not up your alley. I mean, I don't particularly love it or anything, but anywho.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another
I'll have
day.
to check it out.
Go buy it on Criterion. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week on CiNEMACHiNE.
Bye-bye.